Hey, happy Sunday. Welcome to the Sunday Night Cocktail Hour. I hesitate every time I say that because I still don't know what to call this. It's Jack's Place, as you see up in the corner, but that sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like a sitcom or something. I don't know. And I want to have a drink with you. And you say that you want to have a drink with me. So we're just having drinks together. So what would you call that? Happy hour, cocktail hour? It's Sunday night for sure, although it's Sunday afternoon here. It just hit 5 o'clock. And that's when we start this here on the West Coast. And by that, I mean Phoenix, Arizona, but we're on West Coast time. So cheers to that. I'm drinking something that I just threw together. I was preparing for the show, talking to my guests, making sure they wanted to come on. And that of course they wanted to come on, but make sure the sound and light was good. And we're all okay because I want you to hear them and see them. So I threw a spiced rum in with some spiced ginger beer. How about that? It's not spiced ginger beer. It's already spicy ginger beer, but it's because of the guest I have, the first guest I have. I have a couple of guests for you tonight. If you saw my social media anytime today, you know that I have two very different people on. One female, one male. One that's been around a while, been a star since the 1960s. And the other one is a young guy who is quite impressive in his own right. So we're going to get to both of those, and you'll be able to ask me questions, ask them questions, comment on anything. And for the wise guy out there that keeps commenting about Sonny Crockett wanting his jacket back, I wore it again so you could make fun again. Actually, it's my place, and I want it to look nice for you. Any of that. Philip, hey, you're stuck at work. Cheers, brother. All right. Thanks, Philip. I'm sorry you're stuck at work. I'm glad you're watching. Maybe. Hi, Jack, says Glenda Worley. Don't say that at the airport. Drinking a Bud Light, David Bradley. Cheers to you. Bud Light, of all the things. Maybe it's hot where you are, too. Amy Six, attempting to cool off with the dark and stormy. Very similar to what I have on this hot summer night. Amy Hall checks in with a Krabby's ginger beer. Might need to add some spiced rum to that is what I think you meant to type. Maybe you've already been drinking. Victor Landy, bourbon on rocks with lemon. All right, I'll take that. That's not bad. I like a nice bourbon. Reminds me of the South. You know, bourbon, the reason I think it's the consummate American drink. I think rum had a lot to do with the founding of our country and the colonies and all of that. But bourbon is just distinctly American. I just love it. And I'm proud of whatever it is I'm drinking because it makes me feel so great about the people I got a chance to meet around the world when I was doing Booze Traveler on Travel Channel, if you happen to see that. And now drinking does something different for me than it did in my early days. Sometimes it was to get a buzz on, to relax, to celebrate. Who knows what exactly, but now it reminds me of all the places I've been around the world. And it's such a gift. And I was so happy to be able to do that show. And thank you for joining me if you did on that show. But thank you for being here tonight with this. Cheap Chardonnay. I applaud you, Jan or Jan, for admitting that. Pixie Lee, drinking a Saturn here. Oh, yeah? Did you plan it? Or did it just happen? Drinking a Hurricane before I go insane. Alan Vance. All right, good stuff. Who else? Banana schnapps and 3 jam cider. Wow, that sounds sweet. Darren Jones. Tracy Clemens, white wine on a hot night. Cheers. Cheers to you. Tito's and Peach Perrier. Wow, never had that. See, there's Amy Butler Doll, so many drinks on earth you can have. Anybody else checking in? Diane says, hi, Jack, drinking a Dale's Pale Ale. Would rather be drinking a colorless with you in Gdansk, Poland. I got to say, for those who don't know what that is, Diane was one of two that we chose to feature. We had a contest at one time where you'd pick a place that you want to go have a drink with me and what that drink is. And so she picked a colorless in Gdansk, Poland with Russ. So anyway, thank you for that. Maybe one day we will. Chiara, 2 a.m. in Italy, but I had a spritzer too. Can't miss Jack. Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, that's really nice. Orché ti ho visto la mia giornata hai fatta. Ite tuyo che sono come due stelle. Amy Tarango, aloha, Jack. I'm drinking a Tsunami IPA by Hilo Brewing Company. Meh. Meh? What does meh mean? Meh, it's not that good? Is that what meh is? I guess you're in Hawaii, though. Ian, or you're drinking something Hawaiian. I get it. E&I, Crown Royal and Cherry Coke in Central Lake, Michigan. All right, salute. Anthony Zambrano says, what's your favorite drink? That's the name of a famous pitcher. Well, any pitcher, I suppose, is famous in Major League Baseball. But I know you're not that guy. What's my favorite drink? It all depends on who I'm with and what I'm doing, honestly. I like rum because it reminds me of the islands, and I just love that atmosphere. I got a very close friend, longtime friend, best friend, been around forever. Paul Aguirre is his name. You might know him as the Colonel. And he just loves the beach atmosphere. And he went with me when I was filming the Belize episode of Booze Traveler. And we just went out to a key, which is an island, and just hung at a open-air sports bar and fanned our feet in the sand and having a couple of drinks and all that fun stuff. I just love it. It's just relaxing. And the older I get, the more I love that peace and quiet. When I was young, I wanted excitement and fun and all this crazy stuff. Dark and stormy, says Phyllis. And now I love the peace. I love just being there under a palm tree or being able to see them swaying in the breeze as the tide comes in and out, crystal clear blue water, white or tan sand, just nice warm weather, the sun hitting my face and my skin. Boy, that's a lot to me. So that's why I like rum, because it reminds me of that. Brian K. Jack, health and well wishes to you. Cheers with some bourbon rocks. Cheers to you, Brian K. Thank you, man. Looking smooth, Jack. All right, I thought you were going to make fun of me. From New Jersey, drinking cherry vodka and pomegranate. I don't know what that is. Is that pomegranate? I don't know. Anyway, sounds tasty. What are you drinking tonight? Welcome in. All right, so let's get to our guests. The first one, I know you know her because I know no kids watch this show. That's for sure. She's been around since the 60s. Well, she's been around longer than that. But she has been a working actress since the 60s, or even, I guess, before that. She was studying acting and doing it, I suppose. Her first project, I don't know if she knows I know this, The Mugger. And she went on to do a couple of things, including a movie with Jerry Lewis, which she'll tell you all about, and how she got that part. And you might know it from The Producers, Mel Brooks' wonderful movie with Gene Wilder, et cetera, Zero Mostel. And she played Eva Braun, Hitler's girlfriend. And, of course, if you know that movie, you know that. But she's been just so prolific in her career, and as was her husband, the terrific Joe Bologna. And we're going to show you pictures of them in a little bit. But I'm so honored to have her on because she's a friend, a mentor, an inspiration, and the funniest woman that I know. You might know her as Sylvia Fine from The Nanny, Fran Drescher's mother. Say hello to Renee Taylor.
Hi. Who am I?
Hi. What?
Who am I?
You're everyone. What are you drinking?
Pink champagne.
Pink champagne on ice? We are all just prisoners here of our own device, aren't we?
Good.
What? Did you not hear that intro? I thought I splashed it around a bit. Give you some nice props.
Thank you.
Do you remember The Mugger?
Yes, I was also in Cop Hater.
Cop Hater, after The Mugger. Yeah? What did you
Four
play?
boys and a gun.
What's that?
4 boys and a gun.
And so you got sixth billing after The Four Boys and the Gun?
Street of Sinners.
All these early movies, huh? And I'm sure they're out of print. We can't get them. Tell me about your what you considered your first break. Was it the movie with Jerry Lewis or was it The Producers?
The movie with Jerry Lewis.
You want to tell that great story about how you got that?
Yeah, Jerry Lewis was on with me on the Jack Parr show, and he said, if you're ever in California, look me up. So I flew there the next day. And I said, okay, I'm here. And he said, "Oh, there's nothing in it for you in the movie I'm doing now." And I said, "Well, you wrote it, didn't you?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "I seen your movies. Just rip out 4 pages and write 4 new ones, and there's my part." And he did. And that was my first movie.
I can't believe that. The bravery, the courage it took for you to fly from New York to LA to look up Jerry Lewis. Now you'd be a crazed stalker fan if you did that. But back in the day you could. And he was so impressed with that, he put you in his movie. And that really kind of opened some doors for you, didn't it?
No, I didn't work for a long time after that.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't your big break.
No.
How about the producers? You want to tell us about that? That sounds fun.
Yeah, Mel Brooks saw me on Broadway in Love with Gene Wilder and Eli Wallach, and he cast me as Eva Braun. I came in and I auditioned, and with 300 other girls. And
Wow.
a few months ago, I saw him at a party, and he said, "Did I ever thank you for being in the producers?" That was 45 years ago. I said, "No." He said, "Well, thank you."
It's like you to say no too. Most people would be polite and say, "Oh no, that's okay. You don't have to thank me. Thank you." And you just said no. That's so funny. How did you feel as someone with Jewish heritage playing a killer Nazi's girlfriend?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Maybe the worst Nazi ever. I'm
I
sure.
didn't even think about that.
But it was funny, and it was a send-up of the Nazis, just like a TV series sitcom called Hogan's Heroes was a send-up. People were offended when it first came out. I'm sure the producers maybe pissed off some people, but you were just funny. You and Dickie Shawn, who played Hitler, and it was just a great, wonderful movie that obviously was a play on Broadway, and they redid it again as a movie. It's just the things you've done have been so iconic. But for me, my favorite thing was in 1971. You did a movie with this guy named Joe something, Joey Bologna. Was that his name? It was called Made for Each Other,
Mhm.
and you wrote it, you starred in it, and it just made two virtual unknowns beloved across America. Everyone would just fell in love with you and Joe from that movie. It really changed your life, didn't it?
Yeah, that was really exciting.
That's it, huh? After that big, after that big build up. Well, tell me the process. How did you come up with the idea? And you wrote it with the guy that was a major influence and your husband and boyfriend for 52 years. It must have been more than exciting.
Well, the thing was, we wrote Lovers and Other Strangers. That was our first play. It was on Broadway. And then it was going to be made into a movie. And I did it on Broadway. And I couldn't believe they didn't want me to be in the movie. And I had a breakdown. And Joe said, "We'll do another one and we'll star you." And so I started writing Made for Each Other. And then when we were nominated for an Academy Award, it was easy to get Made for Each Other done. And that's how
Sure.
we got to star in our first movie.
For those who don't know, I'm an actor and a host, and actor much longer than I've been a host for sure. And I think in every acting class I've been in, and I've been in a few, Lovers and Other Strangers is always done in every acting scene. As a matter of fact, that's how I met Renee Taylor and Joe Bologna. They had auditions for Lovers and Other Strangers at their house to be on stage with them. And for some reason, they chose me. I lucked into it. And when we did it in Florida, we traveled the country actually, but in one particular place in Florida, a local theater was doing it. And they begged Joe and Renee to please not come to Florida and do it because nobody would come see them. And Joe and
Oh,
Renee was so nice, they passed on that town and did it somewhere else, which is just salt of the earth, wonderful, beautiful, warm people. I knew that day when I auditioned for you, whether I got the part or not, we were going to be friends because you're so open and giving and generous. There's an
it
idea
was
up
so
there.
wonderful. You were the first actor that we auditioned. And we looked at each other. We said, "That's it. Nobody could be better than Jack."
Oh, I'm glad I didn't come in second because you might have said that about anybody. but there's an idea out there that Hollywood is a certain way, and they're snobby and not nice to people. You are the two of the nicest people I ever met, and just to be your friends is it was just such an honor. Not only did I learn from you on stage, it's just being around your energy. It's so positive and uplifting constantly, and I just want to
and vice versa.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I just want to
Well,
say
you're
it's
going
been
to
an
come
honor.
visit me in New York.
Was that?
I hope you're going to come visit me in New York.
Yeah, I was there in March, right before the
I'd
lockdown.
like you to come again, and people will talk.
The reason I went, Renee wrote a play about Mae West. It's called Mae West, A True Hollywood Story, Maybe. And she wrote it. I can't even believe I'm saying these words. She wrote it for me and her. She's playing Mae West, and I'm playing a fictional reporter who actually they fall in love in a May-December romance. And the fact that she wrote it for me, the great Renee Taylor, I'm still blown away by that. I can't talk about it too much. I'll get emotional. Let's show some pictures and see what you say about this. First one, please, Yusuf, my producer. This is Joe Bologna and Michael Caine in a movie called Blame It on Rio. What do you remember about that, Renee?
Oh, I was in Rio. We were on the beach, and people were practically nude.
Was it Ipanema?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the famous beach there. What do you remember about the movie? And did Joe think it was going to be a hit or not? Or did he like it or not? And what does he think about Michael Caine?
Oh, he loved Michael. He thought he was a lot of fun. And once I was on the floor, dancing floor, got very drunk and passed out, spread eagle. And that's when Joe said to me, okay, I think you're going to go to AA. He just became a member.
Really?
Yeah.
And it was during the making of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
What do we got next, Yusuf? Oh, okay. Those look like Emmys. You want to tell me about those?
Yeah, we won that for Marlo Thomas's special Acts of Love and other comedies. And when Joe made his speech, he said, my writing began when I met her, and so did my life.
Well, I can't miss up on that opportunity. Tell us how you met.
Well, I couldn't say anything. And my mother said, why didn't you say anything? And I said, I just stood there with my mouth open. I was so overwhelmed by that. It was like I died and went to heaven for someone to say that about me.
Well, you certainly had a great career, and it continues now. But tell us how you met the great Joe Bologna.
Well, we had the same manager, and he said, I'm going to introduce you to somebody you're going to have a comedy rapport with. And I put out my hand, and I said, this is the man that I'm going to marry. And later, Joe said that he thought when he met me, this woman's looking at me very funny.
See, everybody thought you were going to say, he said this is the girl I'm going to marry. How funny. But then you did get married not too long after that, right?
6 months later.
6 months later, and you were together 52 years.
52 years. Our anniversary is coming up in August.
And of course, the wonderful Joe Bologna is not with us any longer. And
he is.
Well, okay. So not in the traditional sense, as we know. I just want to inform whoever's watching why Joe is not here, because they were always best together, great on their own, and even better if that's possible together. Some of the works they did, I mean, made for each other, kicked it all off. What were some of the other fun things that you guys did together? That, I mean, so much. Lovers and Other Strangers, which I did.
Bermuda Avenue Triangle.
Bermuda Avenue Triangle. What else?
We did a television special that we won awards for called Paradise. We did a television series together, Colucci's Department. We wrote 22 plays together.
22. Let's go back to Colucci's Department since you brought it up. 1973. You wrote this, you created it. It's about a guy who works at or is a supervisor in a New York State unemployment department, and all the shenanigans that happened there. What do you remember about that series?
It was way ahead of its time. It was like before The Office. It was about people who are civil servants who take their jobs very seriously. And I remember one line they said to somebody, "Don't joke on a form."
You know what it reminded me of? A little bit like Barney Miller. I thought Barney Miller stole a lot, or took or borrowed from that. I know Hal Linden is a friend of yours, so I don't want to offend anybody. But Barney Miller was a similar thing, although it was in a police department, but just the banter and the back and forth. And
Well, Woody Allen said when he met us on the street one day, he said, Annie Hall is my mate for each other.
oh, what a compliment. For those who don't know what that is, because it was 1971, I believe, please go back and see it if you can. Find it, Google it, YouTube it. It was, to me, one of the first great independent films that I remember watching, even though I didn't watch it, obviously, at the time because I was a little kid. But they put it together themselves. And that's when you love each other, love the business, love the art, and put all that together, I think anything's possible. And you and Joe Bologna really proved that to be true, Renee.
Well, Love Is All There Is, you can see. You can get that on Amazon. We did that on City Island. Joe,
Well, let me tell you about Love Is All There Is. There's an actress called Angelina Jolie, and Joe Bologna and Renee Taylor gave her first break at 17. Is that true?
And where is she now?
You jinxed it. She's had no career since then. Son of a gun. What do you remember about a young Angelina Jolie?
She was breathtaking. I gasped when I saw her. She was the most beautiful girl I had ever seen.
Wow.
And very funny, too. I'm surprised she hasn't done any comedies. Very funny.
Well, after the movie came out, and she started her ascent to where she is now, did you know that was coming? Because you have a great instinct. I shouldn't say great instinct for talent, because that kind of pats me on the back a little bit. But you really know the business. You've been around for a very long time, and you're really keen about stuff like that. Did you know she was going to be a big star?
Yeah, because she was so beautiful, and because she took risks. She came in as the character with a heavy Italian accent, and it was a Florentine accent, which was very difficult. And she came in with it and spoke only, even when she was talking as herself, she spoke with this accent. So she was really a risk taker.
And at the time, of course, she didn't have anything to go on. I mean, being that young, I don't know that she was a child actress that I'm aware of. And her father was John Voight. That's all you knew. I know you're friends with John Voight to this day. But
Yeah.
Did she have a leg up, or was it just she just blew you away?
No, also the producer said, look at other actresses. And we said, no, you're not going to find somebody funnier than her or more beautiful.
I'm glad you have that mindset, because that's what you said when I auditioned for you and Joe.
Yeah.
I just happened to be the first guy there at the audition. And I remember you called and said, no more. We'll take him. Meh, he's good enough. Made for Each Other, I know made things easier. I remember Joe telling me a story. We were sitting out back having a drink, and he said, after Made for Each Other, I really didn't have to audition. People just came to me and offered me parts. And he did a lot of stuff. My favorite year, obviously, was one of them. Cops and Robbers was another one, a little less well known, but he was Matt LeBlanc's father in a series, short-lived. He had some hits, some misses, but he really loved I wouldn't say loved the business, but he really loved the craft. Because if you don't know this about Joe Bologna, he was a great writer, great director, and a great actor. And I think he enjoyed them all, but he used all those parts of his brain when he was approaching a part, right?
Well, he just was a natural. and he just had a good time, and it came easily to him, and he was a great inspiration to me because he was a lesson on when things don't mean that much to you, they come easy to you, and you don't put a lot of weight on it. You don't use it to validate yourself. It's just fun. You're just expressing yourself. You're just passionate about something.
That's quite a thing to say for someone who has met and or worked with just about every famous person in the world. For those who don't know, in their old house in Beverly Hills, they have pictures with the Dalai Lama, which we have. I'm going to show you that picture. But also the Pope, Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, Jackie Gleason, Michael Jackson, Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, Barbara Streisand. Everyone who's everyone knows Joe Bologna and Renee Taylor, and you'd never know it. They're the most down-to-earth, humble, sweet people, and I say that because I know that Joe is still with us in just in a different form. For anyone out there who is wanting to do what you do, and I know that you were Adam Sandler's mother in The Do-Over, and you were telling me at the time they put these fake breasts on you, and it was so hokey and goofy and silly, and they came down to the floor, and then you've done serious theater. Anything you have to say to anyone who wants to do what it is that you do so well?
You just do it, no matter if somebody says you're not any good. You just do it. You do it because you love it and you want to do it, and you empower yourself. You don't let anybody else tell you whether you're good or you're good enough. You just do it because it's your desire, it's your vision.
If you let go of the end result and you do it just because you want to do it and without fear of judgment, I think you're better off. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You and Joe taught me a lot when I worked with you, and it was some of the best times, not only of my acting life, but of my life. And I just want to thank you again for believing in me.
Well, I feel the same way about you. I learned a lot from you.
Oh, that's absolutely ridiculous, but thank you. We have some comments. Beth Krenzer says, what a thrill to hear from this legend. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Oh, I thought she was talking about me. No, I don't. Saw you in your one-woman fantastic show in Skokie last summer. Let's talk about that.
Oh.
You wrote a play. The last thing you did with Joe Bologna, who I love.
My Life on a Diet.
My Life on a Diet.
And I'm going to be doing it again in the spring when the theater opens up again.
But it was very personal. This wasn't like some of your other plays. This was a very personal, very touching play of your life from the beginning to now. And you're very vulnerable in it and open and honest. You didn't go for the laugh. You didn't go for the performance. You just really shared of yourself with the audience. And for those who don't know, it was a monster hit. Everywhere she went, it sold out. She got rave reviews from all the New York papers. You know how Broadway, they can be tough off Broadway. New York's a tough town to perform in. It's easy to get good reviews in Connecticut, maybe, or some other places, or regional theater. But she killed everywhere she went. And it's not just because she's this so-called legend, as Beth Krenzer said. It's because she's wonderful, and she always shares of herself with the audience. When are you going to start this play again so we can come see you, Renee?
Maybe in the spring, when the theater opens up again, when the virus is over.
What a great way to come back to the theater, to come back to see you. We're gonna do this again. We put your Instagram thing up here. Renee Taylor is at @official_Renee_Taylor.
When I say that when the virus is over, I mean when Trump is over.
Oh, when Trump is over. Is there anything you want to add about that?
Yes, I was listening to Mary Trump, and what she said is so true, that if he wins again, we will never come back from that. The American experience is over. So we really have to see that doesn't happen.
As an artist, I know you have what some would think would be very ethereal thoughts about the world and how it works and all of that. You said something interesting to me once, that everything bad or good is a reflection of us. Can
Right.
you talk about that a little more?
Yeah, it's all mirrors. There's nobody there but us. And everybody you see is a mirror. You're a mirror of me. I'm a mirror of you. And so you're all my good things. You're my shadow. And he is too. He's all the badness. He's all the immoral and corrupt in us. He's the cheater and the liar and the stealer in all of us. And once you make contact with it within yourself and you take responsibility for it, then I think we can say goodbye to him because he served his purpose. And his purpose was, don't do this, don't go there.
Do you have a prediction about the election on November 3rd?
Well, we've got to see that it's over for him.
You think it's going to happen?
Absolutely.
You sound like a confident woman. You've always been.
No, I'm not confident.
Not about that. I mean, you at the place you've come to in your life, you've lived a life certainly of uncertainty sometimes, but when you are speaking from the heart and are passionate about what you're talking about, and on stage, you master two things at once. You're very vulnerable and open-minded about what could happen, and things could change in a minute depending on what goes on. But you're very, very sure about what you're doing, and I think that's really one of the great keys to your success. Why people love you so much. You seem so approachable, but you're way above our heads. You're just one of the best actresses and the funniest people I've ever met. And again, more importantly than watching you up there is to be your friend. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Same. I feel the same way about you, Jack.
I'll come see you in New York and we'll work on the play, and
Yeah.
we'll have good New York food. How about that?
That'll be true.
Thanks, Renee. I love you.
I love you more.
All right. Bye-bye. That was a great Renee Taylor, who's a friend of mine. And so it was really wonderful talking to her. I don't know if we had any questions for Renee, but that went by awfully quickly. Thank you for your comments. But we have another guest we want to get to as well. So let's do that after I have a drink. Anyone else drinking? We got any of those comments up, Yusuf? Anyone else chiming in with what they're drinking? I have a spiced rum and ginger beer, which is a very spicy drink for my spicy friend Renee. Love hearing Renee's sharing, says Denise Wilson. Talking about love is all you need, take a risk, like Angelina Jolie. The actual movie was called Love is All There Is, for the record. Cam Norden, what happened to I Don't Drink Alone? Yeah, that was a podcast I did, and it was time for it to go bye-bye, that's all. Because to me, this is a better podcast because you get to come on with me. The podcast was pretty straightforward. I would speak for however long, and you got to listen to it. But now you can watch this, or you can listen to it as a podcast. But you also get to interact. So that's what happened to I Don't Drink Alone. It became Jack's Place. It's better. Marianne Atkinson, I'm drinking cold tequila, 1800 Cristalino. Wow, cold tequila over ice, or you chill it? Let me know. All right, so Melanie Richard says special COVID slugger Invente a Quebec, Canada vodka plus mineral water plus cranberry plus lemonade juice, lime, quarter, and ice. Wow. Quebecois. Wonderful. Anyone else? What are you drinking? Because I got to get to my next guest. Howdy, Jack. Having a boot full of gold. That's funny. Birthday champagne for Julie Blakely Campbell. That reminds me, a friend of mine, Smoke Wallen, is celebrating a birthday. I don't think he's watching. He's out having fun. But somebody tell Smoke I wish him a happy birthday. Would you? Oh, this is nice. I might start drinking more of those. Gin and grapefruit juice, says Dave Winstead. Good stuff. Gin martini, dry lemon lemonade. Adrian Shaw, Jeff Hazlitt, drinking breadfruit and rum bar. Oh, that's right. Went to the breadfruit Friday night, 2 nights ago now, and got a nice jerk chicken that I ordered. and some rum punch, and they're just great. They're here in Phoenix, for those who don't know what that reference is. So let me ask you a question. Don't Google it. Just think of it off the top of your head. You don't even have to say it out loud. Or you can if nobody's around. There's no right or wrong. Actually, there is a right or wrong. But don't worry about being wrong is what I'm saying. Ready? Here we go. How many countries are there on Earth? You're wrong. Here's why you're wrong. Because nobody knows for sure. Some people say there's over 200. The UN can't even agree with certain countries around the world. Federations, soccer federations, and the airlines and world maps. Nobody can agree on exactly how many countries there are. You'll see, Google it. Some say 211, some say 193, or 195, or 197. So we're going to talk to a guy who's probably the most traveled guy I know. And he's going to tell us not only exactly how many countries there are, he knows because he's only 6 away from seeing every country on Earth. And before I get to it, let me explain. There's the Vatican, the Holy See. Some people count that as a country, some don't. If you do, it's the smallest country on Earth. There's Kosovo. Some people don't give that its due respect, because to be a country, other sovereign countries have to recognize your sovereignty. And then there's Taiwan. Well, a lot of people piss off China and recognize Taiwan, but others who want to be China's trading partner will not officially recognize Taiwan. And the thing that gets me about that is we can't agree on politics right now, as Renee said, whether Trump should be in office or not. And the divisiveness that's going on, whether you're a Trump fan or not, you have to admit we're a country divided right now. Probably more than any time in my lifetime, maybe 68, but I was a kid, so I don't remember that as well. We can't agree on anything. I would think we'd be able to agree on how many countries there are. It's a set thing, or it should be, and we can't. But anyway, this guy has been to all of them except for 6, like Jamaica, Ecuador. I think Suriname might be another one. Where else? I'm not sure. I knew them, but he's gonna fill you in on that and give us the answer to this somehow confounding question: how many countries there are on Earth? And more importantly, he's going to tell you all about them. Somebody said my guess was close to 200. Well, that was a good guess, because again, I don't know that there's an official answer, but this guy knows just about as much as anybody I've ever met about travel and the world. Say hi to Drew Binsky. Hey, Drew.
Jack, how you doing? Cheers. Thanks for having me on, man.
Cheers. What are you drinking? Oh,
the only beer in my fridge, a Blue Moon. My parents' fridge, that is.
Nice. You ever put an orange in your beer? Once in a blue moon.
Yeah, you're full of jokes, man.
There you
how you
go.
Doing?
So listen, I know you're quite dry and you don't appreciate the silly, goofy sense of humor. I have to do it to keep sane. So let's start with that. How many licks does it take to get to the? No, that's a different. That's from
I do appreciate the humor. I'm not as witty as you, but I observe.
You're plenty witty, my friend, just in a more intelligent, dry way, I guess. So tell us, please, how many countries are there on Earth in your estimation?
Well, the official number, which is no debate, is 193 by the UN, the United Nations list, has 193. Then there's a couple observer states, which is Vatican or Holy See, and Palestine. And then there's a couple others that I add.
Kosovo, Taiwan.
Yeah, like Taiwan, as you mentioned. It's tough because, that, as you said, it gets really political. And some people think Greenland is a country, but some people think it's part of Denmark. Some people break up the UK into 4 countries. Sure. Then you have countries like French Guiana, which is France. It's a French overseas territory. But if you've been there, it's absolutely nothing like it's in tropical. It's in the Amazon. So it gets really hairy. There's my funny word for you right there. It gets really debatable. But
same Tahiti, though. France. That's a
Bora Bora, Tahiti, French Polynesia.
Sure, all of that.
Yeah, and then like the Falkland Islands. is the most British place I've been outside of the UK. I mean, it's lit like it's all British pubs. It's insane. UK flags everywhere, but Argentina thinks it's part of them, and technically it's not its own country. So it's a British overseas territory. So
and a war was fought.
Yeah, a war was fought in the 70s, a very bloody war. And if you once again, if you go to Argentina and you say you're going to the Falkland Islands, they call it Islas Malvinas, and it is definitely part of Argentina to them. That's a whole other story. But yeah, you got Western Sahara, which is technically part of Morocco by the UN, but they think they're independent. So yeah, we can go on and on discussing this, but yeah, 193 is a number that there's no debate. So
you go fun. You go by 193.
Yeah,
and you are 6 away from that. So
Correct.
We're going to say you've been to 187 countries, and you're only 29 years old. Before we get to your odyssey, tell me the 6 you haven't done yet, and how that's going to be a documentary.
So the 6 are Saudi Arabia, Ghana, Ecuador, Venezuela, Jamaica, and Palau. So they're all spread out around the world. I did that on purpose because I'm shooting this documentary called Every Country. That's the name as we think it's going to be. But basically, it's about the journey to go to every country, my realizations, how I made it a profitable career, which we can talk about. And most importantly, I'll be having a camera crew with me in each of the 6 countries. And those are just kind of like jumping off points to other themes. For example, in Palau, we'll talk about global warming and island life and sustainability. In Saudi Arabia, we'll talk about religion and Islam, and I'm Jewish and what that means to me. And there's all different we'll have like 3 or 4 themes that we break off into the 6 countries. So right now I'm stuck, but hopefully in 2021 I can do this trip.
This has got to be like being in prison for a traveler, or Tantalus with the grapes, or Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill. It's so torturous for a guy who loves the world and wants to travel to be stuck right now. There's been nothing like this in our lifetime. Can you describe the feeling?
Exactly like being in a jail cell. It's been cool, like as a time to kind of step back and think about what I've done and what, the next steps are. And I got my golf game back. I used to be a scratch golfer. Then I took a break. Now I got it back. So there's been a couple of positives, spending time with my family here. But yeah, it sucks, man. I mean, it's pretty much worst case scenario for the world, not only for me selfishly, but this pandemic affects 7.6 billion people on this planet. Maybe not, some tribes that are really in remote areas that, but anyways, it affects everyone in a negative way. And, we will get through it. It's just, I have to keep telling myself that, okay, it's going to be longer than I want it to be. So it's rough. It's been really rough, man. But just like you, just trying to get through it.
You just said 7.6 billion, among other things. Is that how many people are on the planet right now?
Yeah, they say we're going to hit 8 billion by 2030 is the estimate.
Wow.
You didn't know that? Learn something new every day.
I thought it was somewhere between 6 and 7, but I don't keep track every day.
No, we're past 7. And India is about to pass China as the most populous country in the world in the next 5 years. So they're both, it's like 1.6 billion and 1.55 billion, something like that. So it's getting close.
Billion with a B. 2 countries on Earth that have 1.5 billion people. Just to put that in perspective, that's 4 to 5 times what the United States has.
4 out of every 10 people on this planet are from either India or China. I mean, that's just think about that for 3 seconds. It's crazy. It's insane.
Wow. Yeah. When you put it that way, it's wild. And I'm sure traveling around the world gives you these kinds of observations that people who stay cloistered, who stay hidden, who stay in their little corner, get their own little piece of the sky and just stay right there, don't get. As Mark Twain said, travel is fatal to prejudice, to closed-mindedness, to so many things. Right. And I know you have a lot of travel lessons you've learned, but you've also taken a lot of risks. I was going to ask you how you started out, why you wanted to try. I don't think that's as important as the fact that you did it. So let's just do a couple of rapid-fire questions that now are coming to my head, because I don't write questions down and I don't know where I'm going with this.
You freestyle everything. I love that.
I know. Yeah, freestyle. That's it. That's me. I know people are going to ask these, and if you have questions for Drew Binsky, please ask them. The first thing I said, just saying your name right now, are you often confused with Dr. Drew Pinsky?
Yes, people get confused. Binsky is actually a nickname. My real last name is Goldberg. It's pretty Jewish sounding, but Binsky is a nickname that my dad gave me when I was a kid, and it just kind of stuck through my life. So it just that's kind of been my brand now.
Where does that come from, Binsky?
He still doesn't tell me what it means or where it comes from. It's just, and if you look at my baby videos, on the VHS, we still have them, and he's calling me Binsky. So whatever it's worth. That's my name.
I love that. That's funny. Okay, so Drew Binsky.
Yeah.
I'm going to call you that, Drew Binsky. Tell us, and we'll do this as quickly or as slowly as you want to.
Whatever you want.
The moment you thought you were going to die around the world.
Bus crash in India in the Rajasthan state, overnight bus, 2 a.m. Bus driver slammed on the brake, turned the wheel, bus flipped over. It's 90 degrees, glass shattered, dust everywhere. I had to escape out the bus. 2 people didn't make it out alive. Then I was stranded on the road to get picked up by the next bus. This is like 3 a.m. I'm the only white person around. No one spoke English. And then had to pull a bunch of glass out of my foot. Ambulance came, told them I don't want to go to the hospital, and then somehow made it to the next city, shaken up.
Why did the bus driver do that? Did he fall asleep?
There's a couple of things that could have happened. I have no idea. No one spoke English, but A, he was drunk. Apparently, a lot of bus drivers in India are drinking and driving. B, there was a cow in the road because obviously there's a lot of cows in India, and maybe he was jolting. Or C, he was falling asleep and then he just jolted the wheel or something went in the road. One of those 3. I can't think of another thing that could have happened.
Reminds me of the other most populous place on earth, China. This week there was a bus, and they cut it on video, that cut across the highway, went over a cliff, killed, I think, around 21 people, injured much more. It sounds like that exact experience.
Yeah, it was horrible. And this is 5 years ago. This is when I was like a budget backpacker. I was on a sleeper bus. I was spending $500 a month in India. It's a very cheap country to begin with, but I was only on like 60 countries. So this is way before I made videos, way before all of this crap. That was the scariest, death moment right there. But overall, I mean, it's been 98% amazing, positive, joyful experiences around the world.
By the way, this is Drew Binsky's Instagram. Follow him if you want all updates of what he does. By the way, he makes great videos on YouTube, and they've been seen about 1.5 billion times. As many people as there are in China or India, he has views on his videos. And it all started when he went to North Korea. And that video, first of all, it's very dangerous. We know that Otto Warmbier was killed by the North Koreans or sent back almost dead.
Correct.
For taking a poster off a wall, you shot a video, which I would think, or a banner I think he took, but I would think shooting a video without getting permission is probably just as or more dangerous. What possessed you to shoot in a place that has a crazy man like that? But that being said, and I'll let you answer the question, that video went on to garner 10 million views right away, and that started your popularity on YouTube. Go.
Yeah, that was actually my first big video. It was like 2 months after I got a camera. This is April 2017. I went through Beijing. There is a British-run company called Koryo Tours, and they offered tours to North Korea. At the time, Americans were allowed. That's when Otto was still in North Korea. He was in labor camps at the time when I was in North Korea. Went on a trip. You can bring a camera. They ask you not to film, but there's no you can't film. They just say you don't take pictures or videos of police officers, obviously, like governmental buildings. That's the same all around the world. And don't take any pictures of construction. The reason is they always want their country to look perfect, polished. So if you take a picture of construction, it shows that it's not beautiful. And then, you're pretty much free to film on the streets. And I was really trying to keep it low key, but it really was a lot more chill than, you're on a guided tour. Can't leave the tour guide. You're with both a North Korean tour guide and a British tour guide who runs the company, and you're on a bus of like 20 people. I was the only American, but I stayed at the same hotel that Otto Warmbier stole the poster. There's only one hotel that people would stay at.
Only one.
And then the craziest part is a month after I left and after I posted the video, Otto Warmbier was sent back to his home in Ohio in a coma, and he passed away. And then right away, Americans became banned to visit North Korea. Until now, it's been like completely blacklisted. So I'm pretty confident that I'm like one of the last dozen Americans to step foot in North Korea until now.
What do you think happened to Otto?
I think he was put in labor camps and he was really messed up, like physically. No one really knows actually, but I think he was not treated in a good way at all. And it's really sad. It's really sad, the whole what he had to go through just for, I mean, he did do something stupid. And when you go to North Korea, in Beijing, you have a mandatory briefing with everyone. Mandatory. If you don't go there, you can't go to North Korea. And they pretty much say, don't disrespect the leader. That's like the one thing. If you break the rules, then look what's going to happen to you. And he broke the rules. So, he knowingly knew not to do it, and he did it. I'm just saying, if you go to a place like North Korea, you really need to be careful to follow the one and only rule that they tell you. But regardless, it's very extreme what happened, and I feel bad for him.
I know the story. I don't know it well, but I think somebody offered him a used car if he would bring back this. It was almost like a challenge. Bring back a banner or a poster that said something about North Korea. And maybe he was in a church group or something like that. And it seemed very innocent at the time, very much like a high school / college prank. Right. But you don't do that there. That's the same thing to me as jump at the zoo, jumping into the lion cage and say,
100%.
I just want to play with the lion. I mean, I don't say it should have been a death penalty for or death sentence for Otto Warmbier. But there are places on Earth you don't do that. You don't swim in the Amazon by yourself or without a guide. There are certain things you don't go to Moscow and do shady stuff because of the secret police there. There's a lot of things I could name. You don't walk through the jungle without a guide. Right. And in North Korea, you don't do what they say don't do. Right. And
exactly.
It was a stupid thing, but again, he should still be alive. And I think we had a very weak, very tepid response to them doing what they did. Right. But without getting into politics, I just thought it was a sin. He didn't deserve that. Neither did his family. And the fact that knowing that he was imprisoned, sent to labor camps, whatever, and you still filmed. Were you ever nervous when you were doing that?
No, because I was with a North Korean tour guide. I didn't go off and do something stupid and disrespect the leader or anything. So, he told me I can film, and then I can film. And if a police officer approached me, he would directly just speak with the tour guide. And when you get to the hotel at the end of the day, 8:00, you eat dinner in the hotel, and then they lock the doors. So you can't leave the hotel. It's impossible to leave the hotel. And so you're pretty restricted. But just a quick little more background on Otto. It was, because I know this, my tour guide was with him on the trip. It was December 31st, New Year's Eve. They were all drinking. There's a lot of booze in North Korea, especially at the hotel you stay at. There's a nice bar. And then he was drunk when he stole it. Didn't think it was a problem and didn't even know it was an issue. And then when he was at the airport heading out of the country, they had his name on a list. When he went to immigration, they said, "Come with me," and then no one ever saw him again. That's actually what happened. That's the true story.
Thank you for the update. I wasn't sure exactly. All right, let's switch gears because travel is fun and beautiful. The most scenic place on Earth.
Namibia.
Namibia. What did you see there?
Namibia is mostly desert. It's the least densely populated country in the world behind Mongolia. There's 2 million people in Namibia, and it's huge. I mean, it's bigger than Texas. It's huge. It's like half the size of the U.S. It's incredible. It's one of the only places on Earth that you can see beautiful sand dunes ending right where the ocean hits. So you have waves. I have a cool drone shot of this. You have waves and sand dunes for like 100 miles in the southwestern part. And also in Namibia, you have a really cool tribe called the Himba tribe, and they get this clay from the mountains, red clay, and they put it in their hair as like a sunscreen, but it's also like a makeup, like a beauty makeup. And I spent 24 hours with them in the middle of nowhere. I got dropped off, and they do all these really cool rituals, and they have a really cool way of life, and they don't wear clothes. It was just a really cool experience to be able to witness that. All over Africa, you can find really cool indigenous tribes, which is why Africa is, in my opinion, the most beautiful continent on Earth. But Namibia just really stood out. It's a great road trip country. It's safe. It's relatively cheap. It's kind of like South Africa. It's like an extension. It used to be South Africa, like in the 80s, I think. It used to be the same country. Then they broke off. Everyone speaks English. So have you been there, Jack?
Not Namibia. No, I've not. I've only been to 60 countries on Booze Traveler. But for me, Tahiti was the most beautiful place that I went to. Who has the nicest people, the most friendly? Who did you like the most? Or among them?
Yeah, I mean, it's Syria. You will not meet nicer people than Syria, Lebanon, Iran. It's honestly, the hospitality in the Middle East is second to none. Then I go to Southeast Asia. We'll go Indonesia, Philippines. I'm sure you can agree with this because you've been to those countries, I'm assuming. But those people are just, it's all about smiles, man. You walk on the street, even if someone's having a bad day, if their uncle died, I mean, they're just smiling and they'll greet you with, they'll be nice to you and welcoming. And not only to me, they do it to each other too. There's kind of a misconception that, oh, I'm a tourist, I'm a traveler, oh, everyone's nicer to me. That might be true to an extent, but I live in the Philippines and I've seen how Filipino people are, and they're just very, very happy and friendly people. That's all there is to it.
I agree with you. When I went to Turkey, by the way, people were smiling, having fun. They were passionate about the sports teams, especially soccer, which they call football. I was rooting for a team called Besiktas against Fenerbahce, and they were just crazy, wonderful, passionate. And it was a regular season game, and people were banned from going because they caused problems last time. But they were fun and funny and wonderful. And I think that's the great thing about travel. We have so many stereotypes in our minds already about the people of the world. I don't care what you think about the place itself and the geography, the topography, the people. Please travel. If you can, you will shatter so many stereotypes in your life. In the Philippines, they were fun and funny. I remember I went to Cambodia and I was driving. I was in a tuk-tuk and with a bike. And I said to the guy, "Let me drive, would you?" Just because I thought it'd be fun. It would be fun on camera. And I couldn't control it. And I crashed to another one. The wheel bent in half. It broke. And I thought the guy was going to get out and start wailing on me.
Here they would in the U.S.
Sure, or raise his voice or yell at me or whatever. I mean, it would have made good television. But he was like, okay, man, what can you do, And I felt so bad. I said, we're going to change the scene now. We're going to go get this bike fixed, and we're going to get him a brand new wheel, and we're going to buy him some liquor because we had that on the show. And I was really surprised. The one big takeaway, I have plenty of them, was how friendly people are around the world. I don't know it's the same towards Americans now. I hope it is, or if not, it will be again. But for me, that was a big shock. What are some of yours?
Yeah, first off, no one knows you're American unless you wear a U.S. flag or say, "Hey, I'm American."
Well,
it's just like
they knew we were because we were filming, and we had to identify.
Got it. It's another thing with being Jewish. Like no one says, "Hey, you're Jewish." I'm like, "Oh, if I tell you I'm Jewish." A lot of people say, "How do you go to places like Afghanistan or Yemen as a Jew?" I'm like, I'm not wearing like a Star of David around my neck. What was your question? Sorry, that was a side note.
Some of the big surprises from around the world.
Yeah, the world is safer than you think. I mean, even countries that have had some war lately or have had some terrorism, it's not like the whole country. So here, a perfect example is Yemen. I would still call Yemen the most dangerous country in the world to visit as a tourist.
We got a picture of you in Yemen. Yusuf, let's pull that up, will you?
Yes, you did. Yeah, that's me in Yemen. That was in November of 2019, recently. There's 30 million people in Yemen. 30 million people. How many people are in New York? Less than that. So there's a lot of people in Yemen, and yes, it can be dangerous. There can be kidnappings, terrorists, but people still wake up, go to the market, go to school. Same in North Korea. You see kids going to school. They got to eat. They got to sleep. They got to love. They have to make money to support their family, and that's something that you see everywhere, regardless of if you're in Norway, or Denmark, which is called the happiest country in the world, or you're in Yemen. And frankly, to me, in Yemen, I find it more fascinating. The culture is so amazing. No tourists go there. It's beautiful. They got beautiful mosques, beautiful markets, especially like in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Man, that's like the cradle of civilization. That's like where humans started. I mean, Mesopotamia is Syria and Iraq, but then you just go a little bit east of there and you're in Afghanistan, and things that have been happening there haven't really progressed. And nothing has gotten modern, no new technologies. The way that they dress, I mean, except for cars, but the way that they dress, the way that they eat, sitting on the floor, eating with their hands, the way that the buildings have been since 1200 years ago. You don't see Uber, you don't see Starbucks, McDonald's, whatever. You don't see any of that. You just see locally made products, local businesses. You know, if your car breaks down, you just go to a little guy on the corner and he fixes it. It's just like, it's so cool to see that. And it's dwindling in the world. There's not many places left that you can see that. And Afghanistan, to me, is just a magical place. So once again, the world is safer than you think. Yes, there are dangerous areas, but don't go to those areas. And it blows my mind that people won't travel because they're scared of being in a terrorist attack. And there's a stat, and you can quote me because I think this is true. You're 5 times more likely to get struck by lightning twice in your life. Struck by lightning twice than be a victim of one terrorist attack. So come on,
Sure.
Play by the odds.
You just said the world's safer than you think, but stay away from the dangerous places, to a guy that's been to all the dangerous places. Funny stuff. You got some questions, of course, coming in, and I know they want to ask you, but we want to look at some pictures too, and I want you to explain these real briefly, and then I'm going to let you go because I know you got to get out of here. Let's look at those pictures, Yusuf. What do we got? This is your love for the world. I just put that in there because I wanted to. It really doesn't mean anything, but it really sums up who I think you are. At least that. Let's look at some other ones.
Yeah, so Taj Mahal, that picture is cool because there's little rain droplets falling in the pond right there. But I mean, I'm sure you've been there. Taj Mahal is one of my favorite places in the world. You got to get there really early if you want to avoid the crowds. But I mean, India is a country that you love and you hate. I spent 4.5 months there in my life, and so many amazing experiences, so many food poisoning stories, near-death experiences. But it's all, you just got to appreciate it for what it's worth. And I think as a content creator, there are more stories to be told in India than, I want to say every country combined. That's a lie, but you get what I'm saying. India, every corner you turn is just something new happening. So it's pretty cool.
Just to give you an example, not only did I go to a Bollywood party, which was really wild when we were filming there, but I just walking on the street, there was a little kid, 6 or 7, riding a bike on a high wire as her father was around collecting money while she did this trick, and she would stand on the handstands and then do headstands herself and then ride it backwards, and her father was raising money that way. Everywhere you turn, there's this great, wild, crazy, either aesthetic or artistic or wild or dreamlike sequence going on. It really is. It's almost unreal, more than surreal. It's almost unreal. Let's look at some more pictures of your journeys around the world. Yusuf, fire away. Oh, you have a big announcement coming up. What's that about?
Yeah, that's a documentary. It's currently on hold, but it will be out as soon as we're physically able to travel, and it'll be about every country in the world. It's going to be it's going to be a very special film, something I've been wanting to do for a while, and just excited to make it happen, honestly.
Can you take a question or two?
Yeah, I got a little bit more time. We're good, man. Go ahead.
All right, great. Yusuf, fire them up. What's the first country you want to see at the 6th left, and why, says Joyce?
Good question, Joyce. Thank you so much. I would say Saudi Arabia. It's the birthplace of Arabic language, Arabic people, got a lot of history there. But I'm going to do not the tourist track. I mean, it's only been open for tourism since November of last year. It's very new to this, but I'm just looking forward to going into villages, meeting Bedouins, learning about the coffee culture, going to places that no one's ever heard of, and really telling stories about Saudi Arabia. That's probably what I'm most excited for.
Wonderful. Next question. Thank you for that, Joyce. How did you turn traveling into a career? I know that's a bit of a long story, but
I can make it short.
Okay.
Thanks for the question, Amy. So basically, it was studying abroad in Czech Republic my junior year of college in 2012. That kicked off the whole, wow, the world is amazing. New food, new sights, new whatever. Then I taught English in Korea for 2 years, which is really what started, pushed me. I had a travel blog, and I was, making a living as I was traveling. And then when I left Korea, I was at a point where I could make some sponsors with my blog, and that evolved into videos, which is what I do now.
Great. Next one. What's the craziest thing you've eaten, says Cam?
Man, there's so many crazy things I've eaten. Probably, have you heard of balut in the Philippines?
I've had it.
Yeah, balut. It's like a duck embryo, but it's like the beak is still on the duck. What am I, this way?
One day old chick.
Yeah, 1 day old chick. Sometimes they can be up to 15 days old. It depends how big it is. Sometimes they're a little bit bigger. But live octopus in Korea, they serve it 2 different ways. One, they chop it up. Another one, you just take it out, put it in your mouth. We talked about this, Jack. Put it in your mouth and chew. It's like a delicacy there, but it was not delicious. But I've tried. Name me something. I've tried it.
I did that right off the boat in South Korea. The guy was putting it in his mouth. So I put it, and I made the mistake of just taking the head in just a little bit, and the tentacles went.
Yep. Yep.
It stuck to my face.
Grabs onto everything.
The craziest experience. Let's do one more. To Jack and Drew, what destination do you wish to travel to next? I'll let you go first, Drew.
I'm actually thinking about going to Mexico City next week. I will take precautions. I'm going to get COVID tested before, wear a mask, all that stuff. But Mexico's the only place open, really, for Americans. I got a good friend there. Just want to kind of get out and see what the hell's going on. So maybe Mexico. What about you?
Me personally, boy, I'd love to go to an island. It doesn't matter where. It could be the Caribbean. It could even be the Hawaiian Islands, the Sandwich Islands, as they're known, of course. Could be back to Tahiti. I'd like to just chill. It's been very tense, very stressful for all of us. And as a unit, we all feel each other's energy. I truly believe that. Right. And even when it's going okay for me and I'm figuring life out, I have friends and family that are very tense and not sure how they're going to go get through it. So for me, instead of like a few years ago, it might have been about exploration and adventure. Now it's just about chill and centering myself. So I'd probably pick an island. You said something to me when we had a drink a couple of nights ago that really it didn't shock me because I know what's going on. I try to pay attention. I think we have an obligation to do so. But it almost was like a cold slap in the face. The U.S. used to have one of the best passports in the world.
Yeah.
Now it's dead last, severely limited. Tell us where we can go.
Right now, as we speak, this July 19th. Sorry, it's not loading. July 19th, 2020. We can go to about 15 countries. That includes Mexico, Iceland, the Maldives, Emirates, Tanzania, Taiwan. Those are the ones that jump off the bat. You can go to the UK and Korea, but both of them have a mandatory 14-day quarantine. So it's like, why would you go if there's a quarantine? Sure. There's a few other ones, but countries like Syria, Iraq, and Yemen, who have traditionally had the worst passports in the world in terms of how many countries they could visit visa-free, now are ahead of the U.S., and we are dead last. That is just like a slap in the face, man. It's so tough to comprehend that.
I agree. And this is not a political statement, folks. If you get offended, too bad. It's just a fact. It's a reality. Whether you want to say whoever's fault it is or this and that, we try not to get political on this show. But the fact is we had one of the best. Now we have one of the worst. Yep. Hopefully we'll turn it around because travel is one of the most enjoyable and uplifting and enlightening things I've ever done. I always felt that we were more, I guess our lives were more enhanced by our experiences more so than the material goods we gained in life. And I'll believe that till the day I die. The documentary is called Every Country. He is Drew Binsky. And by the way, sidebar issue, for some reason, he decided that he wants to make a story about me. And we're going to do that and put it up on his stuff. Sure. Maybe mine too. We'll have to talk about that. But Drew Binsky it's at Drew Binsky is his IG. He has 500,000 followers there. Millions on Facebook, millions on YouTube, and only for one reason, because this young whippersnapper makes great videos, compelling content, and he loves the world and the people of it, and he's so relatable and enjoyable to watch. That's why he's done what he's done, and he shared it with the world, not meaning to be famous or to make a living out of it, just because he loves it, and that's the best. When people are authentic, right, and they're real, and they want to share an experience with you, as I do here with this show, I think that's the greatest reward in itself. Lynn McCary. Hi, Lynn. Thanks, guys, for the info, the education, and the stories. Please stay safe. That's a great place to end it. Thank you for your time, Drew, and I'll be seeing you soon when we do our thing. And if at the very least, let's have a drink sometime, okay?
Yeah, Jack, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and look forward to seeing you soon, man.
Thanks. Cheers. What a great guest. Cheers, my man.
Take it easy, man.
Drew Binsky, and thank you for joining me. I don't want to go too long, but it's just usually I do this for about an hour, but it's just I had great guests, and I hope you got your questions in or your comments. I'm sorry to do that. I promise next time to take more questions. Amy Hall said, this has been so informative. Thanks, Drew. Thank you for joining. We'll see you next time right here at Jack's Place. Cheers.